All right, let's take a look at works cited and citations. This is all MLA format, so this is for your last essay, so let's take a look. Some basics, just a couple reminders. Your works cited is going to be the last page of your document, so it should also start at the top of a new page, so don't just skip a few lines and then start your works cited. It needs to start at the top of the last new page of your document. You guys all have this posted on Canvas as well, but here's a sample work cited. You guys have this, and it kind of goes over some basics here. First of all, the title should be centered, and the W and the C should be capitalized. There should be no space between the title and the actual citation, so don't skip a line twice. Okay, and again, it should be titled Works Cited if you have multiple works to cite. All right, if you only have one work to cite, then it would be called a work cited, but most of the time you guys have more than one, so it would be called works cited. All right. Notice that the entire document is double spaced, and then the actual organization of your citations needs to be in alphabetical order by author's last name. And for the essay that you're going to write, you will have the author's last name. Okay. Just for future reference, of course, if you don't have an author, then you organize by the title, but that should not be an issue for you guys on this essay. Okay. Another thing to note is the hanging indent. A hanging indent is when the second line of the citation entry is indented. By the way, when I say second line, I mean second line and every line afterwards. So the first line, not indented at all. It's completely aligned left. But every line after the first line of your citation should be indented. That is called a hanging indent. And the reason for that, by the way, is just so that it's really easy for the reader to see a difference between the citations. Notice what I'm looking at here, it's very clear to me that there are two citations I'm looking at, right? The Fisher citation and the Frelk citation, okay? But without a hanging indent, it'd be a lot harder for me to see. I'd have to really be paying attention to kind of, you know, the last line and seeing where that ends. All right, so the hanging indent makes it nice and clean and easy for the reader to see how many citations they're looking at. All right. Also, and I know it says it in the bottom right-hand corner, we mentioned this, that it should be in alphabetical order, but also note that there are no extra spaces between each entry, that I did not skip a line between each citation. Okay, and this is just a minor one, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but notice that every citation ends with a period. It must end with a period. Okay, every citation must end with a period. The in-text citations, okay, again, this is kind of a note at the bottom of that sample document there, but whatever is listed as the first word in your works cited citation should go in your in-text or parenthetical citation, okay? And that's, when I say parenthetical citation, I'm talking about how you cite your work within your own work, within your essay. Okay, usually your in-text citation will be the author's last name. If your citation does not have an author, you use the first word or words of the title properly punctuated. If your title is really, really long, then you can end with the ellipses, the ... But also make sure that your title is, like I said, properly punctuated. So if it's an article or if it's a short story, then the title would go in quotation marks. I don't think you guys are going to have an issue with this because for your final essay, you're going to know the names of all the authors, okay? I'm going to go back real quick though. For the first entry, what would go in the parenthetical citation would be crab. Second one, dangers of a ... Third one, Easterbrook. Fourth one, Fisher. Fifth one, oh, that is Fisher again. And the fifth one, Frelk. Okay, so again, that's what I mean when I say that the first word in your works cited citation, okay, should match what's in your parenthetical citation, okay? So just a quick recap, it's the last page of your document, we're talking about works cited. It started at the top of a new page, so don't just skip a few lines and start. It should be in 12-point Times New Roman font and double spaced with no extra spaces between anything. Okay, you need to capitalize works and cited. The S again in works indicates multiple works, so if you have more than one work, then you need to call it a works cited. If you only have one work to cite, it is called work cited. Okay, make sure to alphabetize your citations by author's last name and or title of article. Again, for you guys in this last one, you'll know all the author's last names. Okay, and then don't forget about those hanging indents. All right, so now when it comes to what actually goes in the citation, follow the slip that we have provided for you. Mrs. Heffley, the librarian, put these together and they're really, really helpful. So follow the slip. The slip will also be posted on Canvas for you. And don't try to make this more complicated than it needs to be. Okay? If you have the information, you put the information. If you don't have the information, you don't try and fill it in with random stuff. Okay? That's one of my biggest problems with citation generators, that they put a lot of weird random stuff that no student would ever think to put. Okay? So make sure that your citation is exactly what you feel like you can actually cite. Okay? So let's start first with the author. You guys should have authors for everything that you cite. But just a reminder, it must be an actual person's name. CNN staff is not a person's name. So CNN staff does not count as the author. Even though, like, let's say on a CNN website, it would say, oh, written by CNN staff. That doesn't count as an author. Not for MLA formatted works cited citations, okay? The author has to be an actual person's name. Again, you will have an author for every source that you're required to use because you're using what we read, okay? It goes in this format: last name, comma, first name, and then period. If you have two authors, okay, you give the first author listed, Lee, comma, Christiana, comma, and then you go first name, last name, Jared McFly. Okay, so the first name is always going to start with, the first name listed is always going to start with the last name, comma, first name. The second author will then be first name, last name with no comma. Okay, if you have three or more authors, you list the first author that's given, okay, Lee, comma, Christiana, again, still last name, comma, first name, and then you put comma, et al. And et al kind of stands for and everybody else. Okay, so if you have three or more authors, don't feel like you have to list all of them. Just put the first one and put et al. Sorry. And then again, end with a period. So follow the citation template. It says to end with a period after the author, so end with a period. Source title. That would be a title of a short story, okay, for your purposes. It would also be like titles of website articles and all that stuff. But for your purposes, it would be the title of a short story. This goes in quotation marks. Okay, and here's the thing, books do not have a source title, they only have a container title, so skip this for actual books. So for the books that you're going to use, the plays, the novels and all of that, you're not going to have a source title. You just skip this and go to container title. You're going to end your source title with a period, okay? So again, that's really only if you're using a short story for this essay. Container title, that is the title of the place where you found your information or article. In your case, it would be a book title. This goes in italics, okay, because that will be a larger work. You should always, always, always have a container title, whether we're dealing with books or websites or whatever, okay? Container titles really can't get skipped. You got to have one, okay, because where did you find the information, right? You are going to end the container title with a comma unless it's a book. In that case, you're going to end with a period. Okay, so for the purposes of your works cited page, you're either going to have 2 or 3, meaning you're either going to have a source title because it's a short story, or you're going to have a container title because it's a book, 3. Okay. Other contributors, those also need to be actual names of people. If you have them, include them. If you don't, skip this. These are people like editors and illustrators and someone else that largely contributed to the work. Okay, these are not common in books unless there's, well, sometimes. Okay, but that's really bigger for like textbooks and stuff like that. All right. And then you end with a comma if you have contributors. If you do and you have an editor, then you would put edited by and then first name, last name. So it's a little different than the way we do authors. Version and number, these have to be actual numbers. And again, if you have them, include them. If you don't, please skip this. Most sources will not have these, especially books like novels. And then you end with a comma. Next one, publisher. This is the group that produces or publishes the information, and then you end with a comma. That should not be hard to find, okay? Unless we're dealing with the short stories, because those are PDFs, it's a little bit different, but for books, publisher should not be hard to find. All right, end that with a comma. Publication date, you're going to find and include the most recent date or year. Okay, so even though The Great Gatsby was originally published in what, 1921 or something like that, or 25? I don't know. You're still looking for the most recent year of publication, so it'd be like 2018 or whatever. Okay. If you have like an actual month and day and all that, you would write it this way, where you have number, the full month, and then 2000 whatever, and it has a period. It should have a comma, but that's okay. If you only have the year again, please only include the year, okay? Don't make up a month and a date for that. Unlike the date in the heading, you need to actually abbreviate the month in this date. Sorry, I said that wrong a minute ago. But if you have like, January, then you're only going to put JAN period, okay, Jan. And then again, end with a comma, because the last thing you should have is your location. Location, I can't say this enough, does not refer to a geographical location. So if you see New York, New York as the place of publication, I don't care about New York, New York. Location does not refer to a geographical location. Okay? Location is really only one of two things, either a website URL or page numbers. However, we recently learned that with source titles where you're given a PDF, your location is actually a PDF file. Okay? Only include page numbers if you're using only a few pages. If the PDF includes pages or page numbers, then please include the page numbers as well, and then end with PDF file. Okay? If you have one page, it would just be a lowercase single p, period, and then the page number. If you have more than one page, you put two p's. Okay, so one page, one p. More than one page, two p's. And then you end this with a period, because that should close out your citation, and we know that every single citation needs to end with a period. Okay, now once you've written it all out, you have your citation slip filled out, then you put it all together. What I mean is you type it out as one continuous citation. Now, website articles and articles from databases and all that stuff, those usually tend to be pretty long. Book citations sometimes don't even make it to a second line. Okay, so again, with the hanging indent, only include a hanging indent if you have to. A lot of book citations are very, very short because they don't have to include the URL. Right? They don't tend to have a publication date longer than a year. So book citations and short stories, especially PDF ones, tend to be very, very, very short, and that's okay. Don't let that freak you out if it doesn't look as long as the citation that I have here. Okay? It's okay if it's only one line. It is okay. All right? So go and make me proud.